Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hey Rochelle, I'm doing okay. How are you?
Haven't seen you in forever. How does it feel to
I
be
know.
learning remotely?
Say that one more time.
How does it feel to be learning remotely away from your colleagues and your friends?
It's different. I I mean I don't know. I don't quite know how exactly to feel about it,
Mhm.
knowing that it's necessary, but it's a lot. Nothing can really take the place of being there with your peers and with your professors, and having everybody kind of at arm's length from you. Um, I don't think I learn as well remotely. I have a harder time paying attention, processing information and things like that. So
Yeah, that makes sense. So the way we start these is I start by asking you to tell us your name and tell us anything you want to tell us about yourself to help us get to know you a little bit better. So please.
okay, okay. My name is Christopher Meadows. I'm a rising 3L at Duke University School of Law. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, born and raised. I attended Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee, graduated and decided to come straight to law school because I was pretty sure that I was ready to do that. Um, my hobbies include playing soccer, watching soccer, basketball, reading, going for runs, just doing anything that kind of gets my body moving. I like physical activity, I guess.
Yeah.
That's about, I don't know. Do you have like specific questions like about to get to know me?
Yeah, I'll ask you questions that will help us
Okay.
go a little bit further. I'm going to start by asking you, did you see the video of Mr. Floyd?
I did. I saw it one time and then I couldn't really keep watching it over and over again on Facebook. But yes, I have seen it.
What were your impressions?
My impressions, the first time I saw it, I thought like, there's no way that anybody can ignore this anymore. If it was, if it wasn't, hearing a grown man asking for his mother, if that doesn't get you, then I just don't know what does at
Yeah.
this point in time. Because, Freddie Gray, Eric Garner said the same things. I can't breathe. And if that didn't get you, and you see it, and they made a long video of someone having their windpipe crushed by an officer, I just don't understand how you can ignore that anymore.
And 3 weeks later, a black man is shot in Atlanta.
In Atlanta,
Yep.
yeah. And the thing is, and stop me if I'm getting too into it too quickly, but um, I think that both of those are situations in which the police did not need to get involved in the first place. Like neither person was a threat to anybody. What they were accused of did not need to result in having any kind of contact with the police. And there were things that could have been handled by the establishment, by passerby. It's just, and that's the frustrating part to me because we're raised to kind of rely on the police. Like if anything goes wrong, even if it's not a violent situation, you're trained to call 911 and ask for the police. Um, and I think we need to go beyond just like the cathartic measures of like prosecuting the officers and actually think about like what makes this system more just so that this doesn't happen again.
And again, and again,
Otherwise,
and again.
yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's just the same cycle. Like something happens, people get upset and irritated, people protest, then nothing really changes.
Right. We've been
So,
here before. And
yeah.
I can say for my age, I'm 61. I'm not very optimistic that we're really going to get a real change. Real change
Mhm.
is going to have to be people, and I dare say it, but white people really taking hold of this issue and understanding the pain and the complexity of what this means. So you had
Exactly.
two students riding in a car going to get some food, and they're tased.
Hmm.
What? They're okay, there's a protest and they're driving through, but what made them their car and them driving through that LGBT tased? Or
Hmm.
you have and I think one is in California. I remember where the other one is. There are two black men hanging. You know, this is
Yeah.
current news. And every white person I tell, I said, there's no black man I know in America would put a noose around his neck because that history is so painful. You just couldn't
Hmm.
do that. And you might shoot yourself, you might overdose on pain pills or whatever, but you're not going to put a noose around your neck. And
Hmm.
people think, well, they could have. No, hell no, they could not. It's
No.
That's not what we're
And
going to
it's too obvious for anybody to claim that it was just a joke
do. Right,
or
right,
something more innocent. Like if you have lived in this country a few years, you should understand the weight of that image.
right,
Um,
right,
I mean, and I think what happened with the NASCAR driver, I forgot Bubba. Like there
right.
was some news found in his garage,
And they
and like
cleaned that up by saying that it had been there all the time. It
yeah,
knew this was going to be his garage. Someone knew this, so that's how they cleaned it up. So it doesn't look so bad.
yeah, it's ridiculous,
It really
and
is.
things won't change, like you said, until white people understand that it's not just an individual thing. It's institutionalized. It was born and bred out of this country's history. It comes from slavery. It comes from the slave trade, slave hunting. I mean, the modern day police force, the idea that we have this like militia style police, like that came from hunting down slaves that had escaped. And even the penal system nowadays that we think of, that we imagine when we think of Angola prison in Florida, in Alabama, and Mississippi, like those are all holdovers from not Jim Crow, but before that.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you think about Native Americans, it's even worse. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, people always tell me they try to compare slavery to Holocaust. Small window of time. A lot of people lost their life. It was absolutely horrible and tragic.
Hmm.
From 1619 until 2020, we have made some progress. You go to Duke University. I think you met Judge Beckton, right? He was one of the
Hmm.
second or third people to go to Duke University School of Law. But right now, how many Black professors do you have? How many brown professors do you have? How many people that look like you and create your community you have at Duke Law?
Hmm. I've only had one professor of color.
Yeah. And when you sit down and just dissect just that, so people can tell you, well, we can't find qualified Black people. People could tell you, well, we are, we already have somebody that teaches that. How many professors at
Hmm.
Duke Law teach contracts or torts or criminal? I mean, like, and there are like 10 of them that teach the same thing, constitutional
Hmm.
law. You mean to tell me you can't find qualified
Yeah.
Black and brown professors to teach us? You
Hmm.
know,
Especially the 1L courses where like everyone has to take them. So they have to have like 3 or 4 professors just to make sure all the sections are covered. And then when they talk about recruitment and having difficulties recruiting Black students, and we come here and we visit and we look at the faculty, and it can be painful.
yeah.
So
And it's
and then
not
they rely on us to do so much of the recruitment.
right. And why would you? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just unique to the law school. This is all of Duke. I don't remember what the exact number is undergraduate faculty, but I know the number of undergraduate students. But I do know the number of undergraduate faculty is not even 10% compared to the whole. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Duke is I guess we could say a great university. It's rated high. They get the top level students. And all that stuff. But you know what I've learned my 12 years there. Every Balsa group that's been there, most of the Halsa group, most of the outlaw groups, I have been connected to them in some way or another. And what I find is they find themselves struggling to get what they need to
Mm-hmm.
graduate and get that well-paying job because it's costing you a fortune to go. So, to get the money that you could pay your student loans and get that job so you can raise a family or whatever it is you plan to do. And it's almost blasé. They're almost like, well, you're here,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Uh,
Yeah,
some
like
of the
we did our
LL,
part.
yeah, right. We did our part. Some of the LLMs tell me stories that break my heart to just to death. I don't know what you were there last year when the government was shut down and you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
get your financial aid, you couldn't get your money, and what were you going to do
Mm-hmm.
before. And of course, the university gracefully said, we'll wait until this is over, but you got to pay us. But make sure we get
Mm-hmm.
our money.
Exactly.
So, all I can say, Chris, when I think about this, I hope your generation and I hope those that come behind you are the ones that break this cycle. I just don't see it happening in my lifetime. I just do not see it.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to someone and, they qualify how they see us. So if you're tall and dark, you're threatening, you're violent. Um, if you're light skinned, you're less violent. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I equate that to Jim Crow, because Jim Crow did a very good job of making blacks separate from each other, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
what Jay-Z said, house and field, right? So, you know, instead of us realizing that we're all the same thing, no matter how light or dark, whatever your skin is, we're all black. And I
Mm-hmm.
challenge the brown community to recognize that whenever something good happens for black people, something good happens for everybody, not just black people. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so okay, sorry about that. Just a little
Yeah.
small tangent there. Um, what do you think are the steps necessary to bring about change? So we've got dialogue, and you got more white and black people protesting. What are the steps necessary to make this stop happening?
Mm-hmm. So that is a humongous question that, you know, even I don't have the perfect answer for. Um, but with my own aspirations of wanting to start my career as a public defender and long term wanting to run for office and hold elected office, I mean, it has to be a structural change,
Mhm.
and I think that is drastically different than just simple black and brown representation, because the dominant forces at play can pick and choose people that look like us that don't really fit what we need, what we want,
Right.
and they can pluck them out of the bunch and say, "Look, we've got one of you. Vote for him or vote for her," and you know, we wash our hands of all the sins. And I just don't really buy that. I think the way that we educate our youth, the way that we treat people who have wronged society, the way that we treat elected officials, all of it is functionally flawed. And I think all of it perpetuates white supremacy.
Right.
I'm from Tennessee. I'm not sure how it works in North Carolina, but so much of education, public school education, is determined by your zip code. Like if you live in a neighborhood with high property values, that that determines your school's funding, that determines how the school board treats you, and it determines your trajectory for where you can go and how fast you can get there.
Same here.
I'm very, and I'm sure it's common throughout the United States, and it's not just the South either. And I
Right.
think that's a misconception, like that the South is backwards. Like, no, when you look at Wisconsin, you look at California, like they have similar problems.
Yeah.
Their culture may be different, but ultimately, Black people have it hard everywhere.
Yeah. Everywhere. And so when you graduate from law school, you plan to pass the bar and then go become a public defender. Do you think,
Yes.
comparative to your white colleague who's thinking the same way, that you will be paid and treated equally and fairly as he will be?
No. And I think what we have to understand is public interests, opportunities, jobs have a lot of the same diversity issues as private law firms do.
Um,
So when it comes to upward mobility, being rewarded for your work and being taken seriously, like Black people, women are all facing similar hurdles as they would in a private law firm setting or a nonprofit setting. I mean,
yeah,
you go into court in the South or anywhere else as a Black man, who they know you're a public defender, like that's your job. You'll be treated differently.
right.
If you're working for EJI with Brian Stevenson in Alabama, where they're extremely hostile to what they do,
Yeah,
you know, it's even harder when you're a person of color or a woman or both,
yeah,
because those judges are going to look down at you as well.
right,
Most of them are elected, so they reflect the biases of the people who are in those localities. And that's not to demonize like Alabama or anything, but like there are these issues that are institutionally everywhere,
right,
regardless of private or public work.
right,
So of course, like I know that I've tried to target organizations that I think are the most diverse, not just in terms of like entry level positions, but in terms of their management as well, to give me the best training that I can possibly get, so that I can do the work that I want to do.
yeah. Do you know Will Crawford? He graduated, I believe, last year. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I will. He
yeah,
graduated 2019. Yeah,
yeah. You should reach out to Will. A
yeah.
brilliant young man. I mean, exceptionally brilliant. He has the same mindset as you do. You know, he wants to work for the good of the community, and eventually he wants to run for office. I told him whenever he starts his presidential campaign, count me in. I've got money, and I'm gonna start raising money immediately.
Hmm.
Um, but in your lifetime, and I guess you're 20, no more than 24, 25 years old at the most. Have you ever felt your person was in danger, that you would be harmed? I mean, if a police car pulled up behind you, or you were in an area that was predominantly white, the white supremacist kind of thing, have you ever felt physically, you or any member of your family felt physically unsafe?
Yes. And physically unsafe, kind of in an abstract sense. Like, I went to public school for like elementary, middle school, but I went to a private high school, and a lot of my friends were a lot wealthier than me. So, like, if I did hang out with them, it would be in their neighborhoods.
Right.
And seeing no one that looked like me in those neighborhoods, and hearing about Trayvon Martin's death occurred when I was like a sophomore in high school, and
Mhm.
that terrified me. And always knowing that like that could be me in that situation if I'm doing nothing wrong, but just walking on the sidewalk.
Mhm.
Um, but I think like, but what I struggle with is like I'm equipped with this law degree, with this legal education, so that if a officer does pull me over, I know my rights. But I'm kind of in a catch-22 position, because if I assert my rights, I am escalating that situation with that officer.
Yeah.
If an officer says, like, can I search your vehicle? And I know he has no probable cause to do it, and it's just a minor inconvenience for me, but I say, like, no, you cannot search my vehicle. He doesn't know the law. Like, how is he going to react to that, right?
Right.
Is
Right.
he going to make up something? Is he going to pretend to smell marijuana? Like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
that's what really concerns me, because I know that if someone else were in my position, like one of my peers at Duke, who is not black like me, they can assert their rights like that and probably not see
Right.
anything close to what we're seeing with like George Floyd or any of my concerns.
Right. Exactly. Jay-Z made a song called 99 Problems.
Mm-hmm. I have. I've
And,
heard that.
and the
It's a
part
classic.
of it says that in the rearview mirror is the law, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and he's sitting there walking through the option. Should he run? He got a few dollars, he can go to court.
He can fight the case.
Right. And he says, then the man said, well, because he asked, did he search his car? He said, no,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to need a warrant for that. And the officer said,
Mm-hmm.
well, we'll call the dogs and we'll see. And then his refrain is, I've got 99 problems, but, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
absolutely a perfect analogy of what really life is, like if you're a black man, and what was really funny about his song was he was doing 45 and a 44 speed zone, I'm sure he was being funny, but I mean, still, it was just absolutely horrifying to think that that's our reality. I mean, almost every black person I spoke to, they say as soon as those lights come in your rear window, a fear goes through you of whether I'm going to make it home. And I think you met my son. I have a 21-year-old son. He has a serious disease, which thankfully is in remission. But he goes to school in Greensboro College, a small Methodist college. And it's 48 miles from his front door to my front door here at home. I start praying the minute he leaves the house. And I don't stop praying until he gets there. And when he says, Mom, I'm on my way home, I start praying again. And I don't pray until he gets home. Most black mothers and fathers worry about their children, especially their sons, so much because you don't know when you're going to encounter the wrong thing, and there's nothing you can do. My son's an introvert. He's not threatening. He's not going to raise his voice. He's going to comply, but he could still end up dead.
Right. And that's the
That's
sad
right.
part. And that's something that we see on a daily basis as a public defender. Look at a case and you see that there's no real probable cause for this person to be detained, and yet he has stitches. He has a head injury as a result of this. Like he was tackled and tased and perhaps even shot. And once it gets to court, all people see are the indictment, right? Like what they claim that he did wrong. But unless like the body camera footage is revealing enough, no one's really telling that story except for our clients.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think people, you hear about like it's just a few bad apples, and that's the typical excuse. Um, Not understanding that the police are reflecting and amplifying the biases of the larger community. And not just that, but the police are a lot more organized than most people would believe. Like they have a union backing them. They have like a sense of like brotherhood between each other. Like they're gonna go to bat for each other.
Yeah.
If one person slips up, like someone's gotta be there for them. Like
Right.
I've seen an officer lie in court
Mhm.
and the judge catch that. And the
Mhm.
moment that happened, I lost just about all of my faith in law enforcement through a police force. And it's sad
Amen.
because I think legislatures have given them so much authorization through the money, through the purse, that they're basically like a small militia.
Yeah.
And it's not what you need to catch, someone who's been pickpocketing,
Right.
or even someone, not even an armed robbery. Like it's not necessary to take care of that.
And
If you're
when you
gonna
look at that,
have,
and when you look at that compared to white and black doing the exact same crime, a black person may die, or they may get this large sentence, the 40, 50 years, whereas a white person who's done the exact same thing may get off with a warning, may have to do 5 years in jail, not in prison, but in jail. It's
exactly,
it's just tough. It's just really, really tough.
it is.
So go ahead.
I mean, I know people in college who did a lot of the same things that our clients do sometimes, and you never hear about them even interacting with law enforcement.
Right.
And that's the frustrating part for me. It's race, and that's race is compounded by class as well. That even if they did get into a situation, like someone would be there to help them out.
Yeah.
Whereas with our clients, like we are the first and kind of the only line of defense for them,
Yeah.
and they don't even know us. We have to bend over backwards to get them to understand like why we're there and that we're there for them, that we're not part of the system, even though we sort of are, to get our clients to trust us.
Yeah. Was it the right decision to come to Duke?
Um, I guess that answer is pending, depending on like what happens post grad. Despite Duke's flaws, I am happy with my decision.
Mhm.
Um, Ultimately, like the friends uh, that I have gained here will be lifetime friends, and the faculty are very hardworking. Like I'm extremely thankful for the faculty and the public interest in pro bono office.
Mhm.
Without them, Duke would have been 10 times as difficult for me
Yeah.
socially. And I think that ultimately I'll be in a very good position given the quality of the legal education that I've gotten and the opportunities that Duke has given me.
Yeah.
Like even though I'm not the conventional law school clerkship law firm type of student, like Duke has had the ability to get me where I want to be.
Yeah.
Like despite COVID, I feel like I'm in a very good position. And
That's
also their loan forgiveness program makes me even more comfortable with my decision to go into a public interest career.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's very, very good to hear. Um, and so, where do you plan to practice? Are you going to go back to Tennessee, or are you going to go to DC or some of those other paying areas?
Mm-hmm. I think I would love to go back to DC. I really enjoyed my summer at the Public Defender Services there.
Mhm.
I also intend to apply to Gideon's Promise, which is a public defender training program for offices in the South that are typically underfunded, offices that are just overloaded. So if when I do that, I could come back to Charlotte. I could go back to Tennessee, maybe to Memphis or Nashville, or anywhere else. Like I'm keeping my eyes open. Um, but right now, I'm trying to figure out like, um, you know, I'm trying to register for the bar and everything, and finding out like where do I want my one free score to go
Uh-huh.
to a state bar. That's pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I guess that's the one kind of drawback to not doing the law firm OCI, because a lot of people know where they're gonna be post grad,
Yeah.
like by the beginning of the 3L year, and that's great.
Yeah. So with what you learned and gained through your knowledge through Duke and your clerkships and things of that nature, do you really think that the justice system is balanced, is equal? So we see the lady with the blindfold on her face and she's holding two scales and they're balanced. Do you believe that is truly what the legal system is?
No, um, not at all. I think people invoke color blindness whenever it's convenient, whenever it hides the discrimination that's going on beyond the surface. Um, I mean, just seeing the clients that we deal with on a daily basis, like they often look like me and have a similar background as me. Like certain neighborhoods are policed more, on certain people are profiled. I don't think the justice is blind narrative. It's really what we think justice should be. I
Right,
think justice should understand the full context of a situation before it renders a judgment.
right.
And I think color blindness makes us more susceptible to maintaining the systems that already exist. You know,
Amen.
it's hard to pick out the flaw in your eye when everyone's doing this and no
Yeah,
one's telling you what's going on.
right, right.
'Cause otherwise, you just look kind of foolish.
Yeah,
We look at the United Nations expecting them to look to us as like the leader of the free world. Meanwhile, we have the highest rate of incarceration in the world.
right.
And if you look at other countries, like like they think that we are just backwards when
Yeah,
it comes to our justice system. They
yeah,
laugh at us
yeah,
whenever we talk about human rights. And I
absolutely.
think that they're right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think they're right. We have about 3 minutes, so I'm going to give the floor to you to talk about whatever you wish to talk about.
Oh man. Let's see. I guess so. This might be somewhat controversial. And I think we talk so much about like justice for Ahmad, justice for Brianna, justice for George, and I think what people keep thinking about as justice is simply charging those officers and prosecuting them and sending them to prison. But I don't think that people understand that we are using the same carceral state and system as the slave owners and our predecessors used.
Yeah,
And in a way, we are legitimizing that. We're legitimizing the idea of putting a person in a cage as a legitimate form of punishment. So for me, when I think personally of justice for Brianna, justice for Armand, justice for George, it's changing the institutions that allow their deaths to happen in the first place. Because if you're only talking about prosecuting the officers, you're admitting that racism must be just an individual thing, right? Like it doesn't have something to do with funding. It doesn't have anything to do with the role that we have put the police in, you know? And if you're only concerned about prosecuting them, you are not seeing the bigger picture.
yeah,
So, um, I've refrained from like commenting on that, but I don't want to look like I'm not being sensitive because that could easily have been a relative of mine.
right.
And I would be just as upset um, as anybody else would be.
Yeah,
But I think people need to see beyond like it's like the allegory of the cave. Like we don't really know what the other options are because we've never been exposed to them. We've only been told like when someone's done something wrong, they're punished and that makes it right. And our form of punishment is incarceration.
yeah,
And I just don't think that that's the answer.
right. And going to jail does not necessarily mean you're going to be rehabilitated so you can enter society again.
People come back worse.
Yeah,
Like the evidence is overwhelming. I mean, there's evidence like new studies like out of 2018 to 2019, like people who get out of prison and have their records completely um, expunged, like those people who have expunged records are actually have lower crime rates than the general public.
right.
Like the best thing that you can do for someone is rehabilitate them and put them in a position that is better than they were before.
Yeah,
But our current system doesn't care about that.
yeah. And we privatize prisons now. So, you got corporations running prisons and it's about dollars. So how many can we get in here? For every prison that's in here, this private company is going to make X amount of dollars,
Mhm.
you know?
And it drives public policy too,
Right,
because the states are interested in those incentives and the tax revenue. Uh, Being tough on crime is still really catchy nowadays, despite like evidence to the contrary,
right.
especially like North Carolina or Tennessee or other parts of the South.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, I'm so glad you took time to talk with me today. As soon as the video is converted, if I don't fall asleep first, I will send you a link to it so you can look at it and preview it and let me know if I can upload it. Thank you
Okay.
again. And I hope you will watch some of your 2019, 2018 colleagues and what they have to say, because I will tell you, it's eye-opening. It really is. And, you know, what I've tried to do is be a little bit of a resource for them. But I really don't think I make very much difference. The people with the power are the ones that need to do this. This is not a part of my job description. I don't get paid for it. I'm not reimbursed for any meal I cook. But please know that if you need me, I am right here. If there's anything I can do to help you, I am right here. You know, I do know a couple of Memphis really important judges and folks. So if you really decide, well, Tennessee rather, if you really decide to go there, let me know and I will do everything I can to help.
Thank you so much. And we
Absolutely.
definitely appreciate all the work that you do. Even something as simple as a home cooked meal is like amazing when I'm trying to survive like as an adult.
Right. Right. And I think that that's, you know, we hear all the time about flunch and all these things that faculty can do, you know, and so you'll get invited every once in a while to the dean's house or to some faculty member's house. But you need that consistency. And I mean, especially for Black and brown students, that nurturing that, you know, you're in a difficult place,
Mhm.
the school is hard and all of this, but you need nurturing. And I hope I'm able to provide a little bit of that to all of you, you know, and I am very glad. I think that's why God put me at Duke Law, because I'm able to do that, at least for the students who look more like me than not. So thank
We're
you.
very blessed to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And as soon as it's converted, I will send it to you. Stay safe.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you. You too.
and listen to more of those Jay-Z songs. Thank you.
I have a very wide array of music interests that does include Jay-Z.
Me too. I had a problem with my iTunes about a year or two ago, and the lady asked to share my computer. She said, "My God, I've never seen anybody with this diverse array of music in my life, because I have everything from Barbra Streisand, Frank Sinatra, to Lil Wayne. You know, so the whole
Mhm.
gamut. You know, so you know, although that was then, I've gotten older now. I think I care for rap very much more because I can't remember what they're saying and they speak too fast. So.
Mhm.
All right, dear. I'll talk to you soon, and I'll send you the link as soon as it's over.
Okay, great. Have a good night.
You do the same. Bye bye.